Breaking news right now, we're following an important new part of the Kennedy family's history and the political history of this nation. The farewell to Senator Edward Kennedy is now underway in Boston. This is the scene right now at the JFK Presidential Library, where Kennedy's flag-draped casket is in place. This hour, members of the public are getting a chance to pay their last respects to the senator. Let's bring back our chief national correspondent, John King. He's outside the library, and our senior political analyst, David Gergen. He's in Hyannisport, outside the Kennedy compound. The folks are finally, John, beginning to get inside, and there are huge, huge lines waiting to pay their respects.
A huge line, Wolf, waiting by the thousands out here, but it has begun moving quite smoothly since they opened the doors a short time ago, and you've been showing the live pictures from inside. Senator Kennedy in the closed casket, lying in repose, members of the public going by, many of them constituents here from Massachusetts who have told us they wanted to be here. They felt an obligation to be here because of how long and how well they believe Senator Kennedy served this state. One interesting thing as this begins, Vicki Kennedy, the senator's widow, is still in there, as are most members of the Kennedy family who came with the hearse. We had been told the family members might leave, at least a good number of them, before the public was allowed in. Jean Kennedy, the last survivor of the 9 children of Joe and Rose Kennedy, has left a bit earlier, but most of the family members are still in there. As you see there, former Congressman Joe Kennedy, Vicki, the widow, right there saying thank you, wearing the pearls, leaning forward to say thank you to the members of the public streaking through. They are black and white, Wolf. They are young and old. Many are in wheelchairs. Most are from here in Massachusetts. Joe Kennedy, the former congressman, smiling. He is the son of Robert F. Kennedy. And it is Vicki there to the far left of your screen. Vicki Reggie Kennedy, for the last 17 years, Senator Kennedy's wife, and a woman credited with, the senator once used the term, saving him. It is a remarkable scene, a beautiful day outside. People waited so patiently. And Wolf, as this unfolds, I mean, the state is saying goodbye to a man who served in the Senate for 47 years. It has been more than a half century since the state of Massachusetts has not had a Senator Kennedy. So a remarkable tribute and a passing and a changing of the guard, if you will, here in Massachusetts, Wolf.
And David Gergen, you live in Cambridge, Massachusetts. You teach at Harvard. This library has been so special to the Kennedy family. It's only appropriate, of course, that the body lie in repose at the JFK Library.
Absolutely. The Kennedy Library is one of the foremost attractions in Boston. It has been since it was built. John Shattuck, the director, has revived it as an intellectual center. There are all sorts of lectures that go on there regularly, but the Kennedy family, Ted Kennedy and Caroline in particular, have taken a strong interest in the library as well as the Kennedy School at Harvard, where I'm privileged to teach. They've got an enormous hold upon Teddy Kennedy has an enormous hold upon the public imagination here in this state, as you well know, Wolf. It's the family goes back in the Senate, really, back 1952. It's over, it's almost 60 years that they've basically been in the Senate, and Joe Kennedy cast a very large shadow over this state. So it's not totally surprising to see the outpouring, but I think it would be very warming to the family to see this outpouring of sympathy and support and rallying behind the family at this moment.
And we're seeing pictures of Vicki Kennedy, the widow, Joe Kennedy, the nephew. David, is there an heir apparent? I've asked this question of others inside the Kennedy family who will take charge, will be the leader of this political dynasty?
That's a very interesting question, Wolf. And there's no one like Teddy who did step in and take charge. As you know, when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in 1968, Teddy Kennedy became the keeper of the Camelot flame as well as the keeper of the family. And that's one of the reasons that we have now, I think by last count from the press, it was something like 85 members of the family have gathered for this occasion. But if you're looking for a successor, someone very close to Ted Kennedy told me months ago while he was still alive that he thought the senator would very much like Vicki, his wife, to serve the remainder of his time in the Senate. She has denied any real interest in that. People also look to Joe Kennedy Jr., or the second, who was Bobby's son, served in the House of Representatives for a dozen years, now runs a nonprofit organization that helps to bring fuel oil to folks in Massachusetts and in this region, and is very popular here still. He conceivably could run for the seat in 5 months' time. Also, there's a Just outside the family now, Paul Tsongas's widow is also being mentioned. Nikki Tsongas, who's been in the House of Representatives. But if you look at the Kennedy family, there's no single person who is the obvious heir in the same way that Teddy was back in 1968.
Stand by for a moment. We see some pictures of Caroline Kennedy, the senator's niece, who's also there in Boston at the Presidential Library. John King, this memorial to Senator Kennedy is going to bring together a lot of Democrats and Republicans.
It is, Wolf, and just a little reflection on the remarkable scene. You're back in the picture inside there with Vicki Kennedy and the former Congressman Joe Kennedy, Caroline Kennedy outside working the rope line. You see that at many political events, and you're seeing it here as the family responds. We were told that on the drive-in, Vicki Kennedy turned to others in her car and said simply, wow. She was overwhelmed at the outpouring of support. People lined up, some places 3, 4, and 5 deep on the streets of Boston, and then they saw, obviously, the huge crowd waiting here outside the Kennedy Library. And we are told by a family source that she was simply overwhelmed and overjoyed at the outpouring of support for her husband, the late senator. You mentioned all the dignitaries coming, a big celebration of the senator's life, an invitation-only event that will be available, though, for press coverage tomorrow night. The Vice President, Senator McCain, Senator Kerry, Caroline Kennedy will speak at that, as will the former Congressman Joe Kennedy. You see him right there. We do have some new information. The family had said earlier that all 4 living former presidents would attend, but George H.W. Bush, the 41st president of the United States, his office says now that he is unable to attend, and that the former president, again, George H.W. Bush, called Vicki and Caroline Kennedy to explain that he will be unable to attend. So former President Clinton, former President Carter, and former President George W. Bush, the most recent Bush president, will be in attendance on Saturday, Wolf, at the funeral mass, but not George H.W. Bush, who succeeded Ronald Reagan, of course, and who knew Senator Kennedy quite well. And again, as we look at these remarkable pictures inside, there are 12 hours scheduled for the public to be able to wander in and pay their last respects. And the family has said that if there are more people waiting out here, they will do everything they can to keep the library open a bit longer. Wolf?
President Obama will deliver a eulogy Saturday morning at the church service as well. Guys, stand by. We're going to continue to watch this crowd move past, pay their respects to Senator Kennedy.